Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, congratulations. You're having quite a run these days, aren't you?
Sometimes, yeah. This is a nice little moment right now. It seems like, as opposed to some, people hate me sometimes, and they don't hate me right now.
Right.
Which is pretty great. Because I feel it.
It's like emotional diabetes, right? Blood sugar spikes.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm having a nice non-hatred moment right now, which is pretty great.
It's 50-50, which is really exceptional as well.
Thanks.
That's your story in a sense, through one of your friends.
Yeah, through one of my friends. One of my good friends. I used to write for the Ali G show in 2005, I want to say, and one of the producers on the show was also. We were both 25 at the time. This guy Will Reiser, who we became good friends with, me and Evan Goldberg, my writing partner. So we started hanging out with Will, and then after the show ended, he was told that he had a giant tumor on his spine. And so we're 25 years old. We had like no concept of how to deal with it at all. And really funny stuff kept happening, honestly. He was in a weird relationship, and we all kind of were single at the time, so we kind of had our own motivations as well. And when he got better, we realized that not only had a bunch of funny stuff happen, but like he was a better person. Like he was kind of annoying and neurotic before, and just like not the easiest guy to be around, honestly. But afterwards, he was much more chilled out and much more relaxed, and he like followed the course that a character in a movie follows. And so we were like, if you just write almost essentially exactly what happened, it would probably make an interesting movie.
It's a raw movie, right? You watch a friend trying to learn how to deal with the impending death of his own friend. Did you feel those things when he called you? What was the scenario where you take the phone call and here?
The actual scenario was ridiculous. So ridiculous we couldn't put it in the movie. But so first, my friend Dave called me and said, "Will has cancer, don't tell him I told you." And then he hung up. And I was like, what? What does that mean? And so I just knew Will was going to call me at some point to tell me this, because we knew there was something wrong with him. He was sick he just was always sick. And then I literally was taking a poo on the toilet. And
thank you for telling us where, in case it wasn't there.
It was. And my phone rang, and it was Will. And I knew it was Will telling me he had cancer, and so I couldn't not answer it. And so I literally, A, had to pretend I wasn't on the toilet taking a poo, and B, had to pretend that I hadn't just been told 10 minutes earlier by another one of our friends that Will had cancer. So the whole time I'm literally sitting there like, oh, really? You have cancer? Oh, that's so messed up. But I knew already, and I literally, vividly remember, sitting there being like, why am I here? And that's what was so sick at the time, is I was pitying myself in the situation, is what's really funny in retrospect. It's like, oh yeah, Will has cancer, but I'm the one on the toilet who has to deal with it. What
did you learn about yourself during that process as a friend?
That I'm not very emotionally connected to my friends at times, and that none of us really talked about how we felt at all. I mean, that's what was really interesting, is in writing the movie, we all had to kind of acknowledge what we did do and what we didn't do in order to make the characters well-rounded, and we all realized there was no moment where any of us really looked at each other and were like, this is crazy, we should talk about this. I'm here for you, man. You ever need to talk, you can call me. That never happened. I literally remember the conversations were more like, if we called Make-A-Wish, are you too old to get a wish? And what's the craziest wish? Could we go to Amsterdam? Would they sell all of us to Amsterdam? Is that acceptable? What could we do as a wish? Those were the conversations we'd have. It was never serious. It was always the most ridiculous version of what you would imagine those conversations were.
Do you think that was a male bonding mechanism with which to survive?
It was totally to avoid just actually talking about how horrifying it was that he was going through this, and that he was our friend, and that he could die, and that it literally meant it could happen to anybody in a strange sense also, I mean, it kind of made no one feel safe in a way, And yeah, we literally just never talked about that as it was happening. And then as we were writing the movie, we were like, yeah, I guess that is what we were all thinking. But no one articulated it to anybody.
You hear a lot of people when they talk about you, there's this sort of, I guess it's a loose terminology, but people like the idea of heralding you as a version of a slacker king, but I've never seen a slacker do more. You seem like you're a doer. You were 13 when you went on stage to win comedy, or maybe even 12. You have activist parents, right? Left-wing parents.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a doer?
I'm just one of those rare people that can do a lot of stuff while they're stoned.
That's it.
That's all it is.
Tell me your folks. How do your folks feel about that?
They've accepted it. I'm sure they would prefer that wasn't the way I did things mostly. But yeah, it's funny. Out of all the crazy, ridiculous stuff we've done in our movies, yeah, they've never really had a problem with it. But every once in a while, my dad will see me on a talk show and be like, "You always have to tell stupid weed stories when you're on talk shows." And I'm kind of like, "It's all my stories. It's all I have. I'm sorry."
What was it like growing up with parents that were? I mean, your dad was was working in the community. Your sister as well, social worker. Right?
Yeah.
What was that like growing up?
It was great, I think it gives you a very good sense of just empathy and human interaction. I think, like, socially, they're very, competent, and, some people you just meet and they're weird. And I think, like, I'm not that much one of those people. I think they were always very supportive, Like Evan, my writing partner, who I wrote Superbad and Pineapple Express with, and who I produced 50/50 with, like, we would literally write every day in his house, mostly like after school and high school. We would come to his house and start writing Superbad. And
you were teenagers, man.
Yeah,
right?
and my parents were always really supportive of it, and his parents were always like, "You idiots are wasting your time. You should go out and play." And we were like, "Go out and play? We're 16 years old. What does that mean?" And we're trying to write a movie, and I give Evan's parents, I constantly give them shit about it, but yeah, I mean, my parents were really supportive, and they were never saying we were wasting our time. They were buying us Final Draft, the program we needed to write the scripts on, like. They were really helpful about it,
Did your parents ever take you to a protest?
Yeah, kind of. They would kind of create protests out of things that weren't supposed to be protests. I remember there was this. He maybe was a premier, some kind of politician in BC named Bill Vanderzam, I think was his name. Yeah, and he had like cut funding to a lot of Jewish social programs, and then he was at one of these big like Hanukkah lighting ceremonies that they do, and my dad like started spazzing out at him and was on the news, and security came and rushed him, and at the time it was embarrassing, but it was pretty cool in retrospect,
sure,
I guess.
I'm Seth Rogen, and I'm a former Playgirl centerfold model. Okay, I'm not.
It was that pause.
The big pause.
Big pause. We're back here on the show with Seth Rogen.
Long pause.
Were you 12 or 13 there?
Yeah, something like that. 14 maybe, something.
How do you get on stage at that age? Because you know that what you're going to get is attention.
Yeah, I mean, I look like I'm a lot more confident than I am, I think, in that clip. I probably had diarrhea all day that day.
Just anxiety in advance. I guess has it changed since you got older?
A little bit. I mean, some things make me nervous still. A little bit. I mean, a little more than you would think. It's funny, like, it was so ridiculous. I presented the Video Music Awards, and I was with Will Ferrell and Jack Black, and, like, all of us were backstage, and we were all like, we're nervous right now for no reason whatsoever. Like, we know nothing good will come from this. It doesn't make a difference.
You don't know, man.
It's the VMAs.
Chris Brown was there. He could have punched you out.
Exactly. That was it.
He does that sort of thing.
They let him back. He's back. It was unbelievable.
I think that's ridiculous.
I was like, I could literally punch someone in the face, and if I'm a good singer, I'll be allowed back a few weeks later.
It does show you, though, that celebrity really does let you get away with a lot of stuff.
It's truly remarkable. And the fact that I've never gotten in trouble for anything like that is so incredible to me. Like, the fact that, like, Miley Cyrus was caught smoking weed before me is ridiculous.
Dude, you're slipping. You're slipping.
I am slipping. What does that say about me?
When Hannah Montana's more gangster than you are.
She's much more. But yeah, I mean, I get nervous about odd stuff that I would never have, that I don't assume, it just happens at weird times. But Saturday Night Live, hands down, is the most nerve-wracking thing you could ever do. And the fact that those people do it every week literally makes me think they're like adrenaline, like they're people who go like base jumping or something.
Dude,
like
I
that.
read Jay Moore's book about being on that show, and he talked about everybody had their anti-anxiety pills in their pockets or in their fingers when they were going on.
It's crazy. I can't imagine. Like, I've hosted it twice, and when it's over, I like literally always look, because I'm friends with a lot of people on the show. I'm like, you guys have to keep doing this. Like, you do this again next week. It's mind-blowing to me. Like, that's the hardest job in comedy, I think.
Okay, so this is 2 movies now where you are the friend of a guy with cancer.
Yeah.
Do you need a third one to kind of close the book on
Round it
that?
out, a trilogy? Yeah. And it'll be a Western, like Back to the... Yeah. For no... Yeah.
So imagine you're in a bar fight, and you can choose one guy to be on your side and one guy you have to fight against. Your options are Paul Rudd and Jason Segel.
Oh, it's a good question. Jason Segel's super tall, so I'd probably have him on my side, and Paul Rudd's super small, so we could handily beat the shit out of him.
On a scale of 1 to 10, and then tell me what it was like playing a Beastie Boy in a Beastie Boys video.
Oh man, way more than 10, like 1,000,000. It was the greatest thing that I ever did. It was the whole time we were doing it. It was like surreal. I mean, it was like the greatest thing ever. Like, we felt like we went to like fantasy camp. Like, you hear, like, I don't like baseball, but you hear about people getting to play baseball with Mickey Mantle and stuff like that. That's what it felt like. Like, it felt like, and you got to dress up like them. Like, it literally felt like we went to like Beastie Boy fantasy camp where you got to be a Beastie Boy, and MCA directed the video. And there was one part where like, they have like their low angle lens on the camera, and it's like a fisheye lens, and he's like literally explaining to us like how to do the Beastie Boy rapping. He's like, one guy's in the middle rapping, and the other 2 guys are on the side dancing around. And we're like, that's what the Beastie Boys do. And like, it was amazing.
Now, were you, how far into or after 50-50 were you when you were doing it? Because, you know, MC is battling cancer. And
Yeah.
Did you guys talk about that at all?
We actually had, definitely. And I don't think he had seen the movie. At one point, we were wondering if maybe they would do a song for the movie, because we knew that maybe it would be something they were interested in, but it didn't work out. But yeah, we did talk about it. And again, you know, he was a perfect example of a guy who, like, it really didn't come up. Like I mean, if we hadn't had this thing to bring it up, like, he was just doing his thing, and he was being funny, and he was telling jokes, and like he was directing a music video, you know, and it was amazing. I mean, I'm a bit a fan of theirs since, you know, I first heard their music, so it was unbelievable.
Seth Rogen, everybody.
Yeah.